The crimson sands of Karis stretched endlessly beneath the blazing purple sun, while crystalline formations jutted from the earth like frozen lightning. In the center of the ancient amphitheater, carved from living rock millennia ago, stood the execution platform. Captain Marcus Steele adjusted his tactical visor, sweat beading on his weathered brow despite the climate control in his armor. The Galactic peacekeepers had strict orders. Observe, but do not interfere with local customs. But watching a woman die for refusing. Marriage felt like swallowing molten metal. The crowd of Zephyrians filled the stone seats, their iridescent skin shimmering in the harsh light. Their elongated limbs moved with fluid grace, and their large, almond-shaped eyes reflected the ceremonial fires. At the platform center, shackled between two obsidian pillars, knelt the condemned prisoner Zara. Night Whisper raised her head, defiant even in chains. Her silver-blue skin bore the ritual scars of her people, and her midnight black hair flowed like liquid shadow down her back. When her violet eyes swept across the crowd, Marcus felt something shift in his chest. There was no fear in her gaze, only fierce determination. Citizens of the northern clans, boomed High Matriarch Vexara, her voice amplified by ancient acoustics. Today we cleanse our bloodlines of corruption. This female dared refuse the sacred bonding ceremony, bringing shame upon her family's honor. Marcus's jaw clenched. His commanding officer, Colonel Blake, stood nearby with crossed arms. Member Steele, we're here as diplomatic observers. The Zephyrian alliance is crucial for our mining rights in this sector. The executioner stepped forward, a massive Zephyrian warrior whose ceremonial blade gleamed with deadly purpose. Zara lifted her chin higher, whispering something in her native tongue. That sounded like a prayer, or perhaps a curse. Marcus had seen enough death in his 15 years of service. He'd watched planets burn and species fall, always following orders, always serving the greater good. But something about this woman's courage ignited a fire in his soul that no amount of military discipline could extinguish. "Can't watch this," he muttered, taking a step forward. Colonel Blake's hand shot out, gripping his arm. "Stand down, Captain. That's a direct order." Executioner raised his blade, and the crowd fell silent. Zara's eyes found Marcus's across the amphitheater, and in that moment, he saw not an alien prisoner, but a person of extraordinary strength, facing death with dignity. The blade began its descent. Marcus broke from Blake's grip and vaulted over. The barrier. "Stop." His voice boomed across the arena as he landed on the sandy floor, plasma rifle drawn. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs, while Zephyrian guards scrambled toward him. The executioner paused. Blade inches from Zara's neck. High Matriarch Vexara's eyes blazed with fury. "Human, you dare defile our sacred ceremony. I dare prevent." "Murder," Marcus replied, advancing toward the platform. His heart hammered against his ribs, but his hands remained steady. "Release her now, and no one gets hurt." Zara stared at him with wide eyes, hope flickering in their violet depths. "Why?" she whispered in accented standard. "Why would you risk everything for me?" Marcus reached the platform, keeping his weapon trained on the guards who surrounded them, because everyone deserves the right to choose their own path. He began working at her shackles with his laser cutter, and because I've seen enough innocent blood spilled in the name of tradition. The first shackle fell away. Zara flexed her freed hand, electricity crackling between her fingers, a natural Zephyrian ability Marcus had only read about in briefings. "Seize them both," Vexara shrieked, but her guards hesitated. Marcus's reputation as a decorated war hero preceded him, and none were eager to face his legendary combat skills. The second shackle snapped. Zara rose gracefully to her feet. She was taller than Marcus had expected, nearly matching his 6-foot frame. "I know a way out," she said urgently. "The crystal caves beyond the northern wall." Marcus nodded, backing toward the amphitheater's edge with Zara close behind him. "Stay low and follow my lead." Plasma fire erupted around them as the guards finally found their courage. Marcus returned fire, providing cover as they sprinted across the arena floor. Behind them, Colonel Blake's voice crackled through his cum. "Unit, Marcus Steele, You are under arrest for insubordination and violation of the Prime Directive. They reached the amphitheater wall, where ancient handholds offered a treacherous path to freedom. Marcus boosted Zara up first, admiring her natural agility as she scaled the stone face like a spider. He followed, plasma bolts scorching the rock around them. At the top, Zara pulled him over the edge, her touch sending unexpected warmth through his armored gloves. For a moment, they crouched together on the wall's crest, breathing hard and sharing a look of mutual amazement at what they'd just accomplished. "The caves," she said, pointing toward distant crystal formations that caught the purple sunlight like prisms. "We'll be safe there until nightfall." As they ran across the desert toward an uncertain future, Marcus couldn't help but wonder what he'd gotten himself into. But when he glanced at Zara's determined profile, her hair streaming behind her like a banner of rebellion, he knew he'd made the right choice. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. But ahead lay the promise of something Marcus had never expected to find among the stars, a cause worth fighting for that had nothing to do with orders or duty, and everything to do with the fierce woman running beside him. The crystal caves of Karis stretched deep into the planet's crust, their walls pulsing with bioluminescent veins that cast rainbow shadows in the darkness. Marcus led the way with his tactical light, while Zara moved behind him with the silent grace of her people. They had been running for hours, and the sounds of pursuit had finally faded to nothing. "Here," Zara said softly, touching his shoulder. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through Marcus's system. "This chamber is safe. The crystals will mask our heat signatures from their scanners." The cavern opened into a natural cathedral, its ceiling lost in shadows, while massive crystal formations grew from floor to ceiling like frozen waterfalls. A small underground stream bubbled through the center, its water surprisingly clear and cold. Marcus set down his gear and removed his helmet, running fingers through his dark hair. "We should be safe here for now, but they'll keep searching. The peacekeepers don't give up easily." Zara knelt by the stream, cupping water in her hands to drink. In the crystal light, her silver-blue skin seemed to glow from within. "Tell me, Marcus Steele," she said, using his full name like a caress. "Why did a human warrior risk everything to save someone he doesn't even know?" Marcus joined her by the water's edge, their reflection wavering in the current. "Maybe because I'm tired of following orders that feel wrong. Maybe because I've seen too many good people die while the powerful make the rules." He looked directly into her violet eyes. "Or maybe because I couldn't bear to watch someone so brave face death alone." Zara's expression softened, and she reached out to trace a scar along Marcus's jawline with one delicate finger. "You carry many battles in your face. How long have you been a warrior?" "Since I was 18. 15 years of serving what I thought was justice." His skin tingled where she touched him. "What about you? What crime did you really commit to earn a death sentence?" Zara pulled her hand back, but not before Marcus caught it gently in his own. Her fingers were longer than human proportions, ending in subtle points, but they felt perfect intertwined. With his, "I protected children," she said quietly. "Hybrid children born from unions between our peoples. The Council considers them abominations, but they're innocent souls who deserve life." Her voice grew stronger. "I helped 12 families escape to the outer colonies before they caught me." Marcus felt his chest tighten with emotion. Here was a woman who had risked everything for helpless children. While he had spent years serving a system that prioritized politics over lives. 12 families, he repeated. "How many children?" 37 little ones. Zara smiled, the expression transforming her entire face. "Each one unique and beautiful, carrying the best of both our peoples." The smile faded. The council would have had them all executed along with their parents. Marcus squeezed her hand. "Then you did the right thing. Sometimes doing right means breaking the rules." They sat in comfortable silence, hands still joined, listening to the musical sound of water over stone. The bioluminescent crystals pulsed gently around them, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that felt both intimate and sacred. "Marcus," Zara said eventually, her voice barely above a whisper, "I must tell you something else. When they capture me again, and they will. The punishment will be far worse than a simple execution. They will make an example of me that will echo across every Zephyrian world. Then we won't let them capture you?" Marcus turned to face her fully. "There has to be another way. Someone who can help us expose what the Council is really doing." Zara's eyes widened with sudden hope. "There is someone, my brother Dante. He leads a network of rebels who work to save the hybrid families, but he operates from the southern wastes, and the journey is perilous. Then that's where we're going." Marcus brought her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. The gesture seemed to surprise them both with its tenderness. Zara's breath caught, and she leaned closer. In the crystal light, her violet eyes seemed to hold entire galaxies. "Why do you make me feel safe when my whole world is falling apart?" Marcus reached up to cup her face, his thumb tracing the elegant line of her cheekbone. "Because maybe we're meant to find each other in the middle of all this chaos." Their lips met in a kiss that was gentle at first, then deeper as Zara melted against him. She tasted like starlight and promises, and Marcus felt something shift permanently in his heart. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "The stars are aligning strangely," Zara whispered, using a Zephyrian phrase that meant fate was changing course. Marcus smiled, pulling her closer. "Maybe it's time for some strange alignments." They spent the night in each other's arms, sharing stories of their different worlds while the crystals sang softly around them. Marcus learned that Zara was a gifted healer who could channel energy through her hands. She discovered that beneath his warrior exterior lay a poet's heart that longed for peace. As dawn approached, painting the cave entrance with purple light, they prepared to leave their sanctuary. Marcus checked his equipment while Zara gathered healing crystals from the cavern walls. "My ship should be in Sector 7, Marcus said, consulting his wrist scanner. "If we can reach it, we'll have enough fuel to make the southern wastes." But when they emerged from the caves, Marcus's heart sank. In the distance, his ship sat exactly where he'd left it, but smoke rising from its engines told a different story. "Sabotage," he muttered, recognizing the handiwork of his own crew. Colonel Blake had covered all the angles. Zara placed a comforting hand on his arm. "Then we find another way. Together, we'll reach my brother and change everything." As they set out across the alien landscape, hands clasped and hearts intertwined, Marcus realized he'd never felt more alive. Behind them lay his old life of blind obedience and ahead waited an uncertain future. But with Zara beside him, even the unknown felt like home. The abandoned mining outpost squatted like a metal spider against the rust-colored cliffs of the southern wastes. Marcus and Zara had traveled for 3 days across hostile terrain, sharing water rations and sleeping under the alien stars. Each night had drawn them closer together, their bond deepening beyond mere attraction into something that felt eternal. There Zara pointed to a seemingly empty structure. "Dante uses the old thermal vents to mask his energy signatures. The rebellion hides in plain sight." As they approached the outpost, figures emerged from concealed positions, Zephyrians and humans, working side by side, all bearing the lean look of guerrilla fighters. Marcus kept his hands visible, knowing that his peacekeeper uniform marked him as a potential enemy. A tall Zephyrian male stepped forward, his silver skin marked with intricate tattoos that told stories of battles fought and victories won. His resemblance to Zara was unmistakable, though where her features held grace, his were sharp with determination. "Sister Dante Ashworth," said, his voice carrying both relief and reproach. "When I heard they had condemned you, I feared the worst." Zara ran to embrace her brother, their reunion bringing tears to Marcus's eyes. When they separated, Dante's piercing gaze fixed on him. "And this is the human who saved you? The one who turned his back on everything he swore to protect?" "He protected what mattered most," Zara replied firmly, moving to stand beside Marcus. "He protected an innocent life when his own people would have let me die." Marcus stepped forward, extending his hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Captain Marcus Steele, formerly of the Galactic Peacekeepers. I've come to offer my assistance to your cause." Dante studied the offered hand for a long moment before grasping it. His grip was Firm testing. What makes you think we need your help, human? Because I have access codes to peacekeeper databases, strategic knowledge of their operations, and 15 years of combat experience. Marcus met Dante's stare unflinchingly, but mostly because I believe in what your sister is fighting for. Human woman approached from the shadows, her auburn hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, her green eyes alert and intelligent. Name's Captain Riley Nova, formerly of the Earth Defense Corps. Like you, found my conscience and decided to switch sides. Marcus nodded respectfully. The inner circle of this rebellion was small but formidable. Dante gestured toward the outpost. Entrance, come. There are things you need to see. Inside, the abandoned facility had been converted into a sophisticated command center. Holographic displays showed shipping routes, patrol schedules, and most importantly, the locations of hidden camps where hybrid families lived in fear. The Council's latest decree, Riley said, activating a recording. Matriarch Vexera's image filled the air, her voice dripping with hatred as she announced new purification protocols. Marcus felt sick as he listened to the systematic plan to eliminate not just hybrid children, but any Zephyrian who had shown them kindness. The scope of the genocide being planned was staggering. Yet perhaps 2 weeks before they begin the final phase, Dante explained. 7 camps, over 300 families. We can't evacuate them all with our current resources. What if we didn't have to? Marcus studied the tactical displays. What if instead of running, we exposed the truth to both the Zephyrian people and the Galactic Council? Make it impossible for them to hide their crimes? Zara moved closer to him, her hand finding his arm. The Grand Assembly is in 5 days. Every clan leader will be present, along with human diplomatic representatives. A perfect stage, Riley. Agreed, catching on to Marcus's plan. But getting evidence would require infiltrating their most secure facility. Marcus felt Zara's tension through their growing psychic connection, another surprise in their developing bond. The Crimson Archive, she whispered. All their secret communications are stored there. That evening, as the rebels planned their desperate mission, Marcus and Zara found themselves alone on the outpost's observation deck. The twin moons of Charis hung low on the horizon, painting the desert in silver light. Are you certain about this? Zara asked, leaning against the railing. If we're caught, there will be no rescue this time. Marcus moved behind her, rapping, his arms around her waist. She melted back against his chest, and he pressed his lips to the sensitive spot where her neck met her shoulder. I'm certain about you, he murmured against her skin. Everything else we'll figure out together. Zara turned in his arms, her violet eyes reflecting the moonlight. In my culture, we have a bonding ritual. When two souls recognize each other across impossible distances, across different worlds and species, Marcus's breath caught. And what does this ritual involve? Instead of answering, Zara pressed her palms flat against his chest. Warmth spread from her touch, and Marcus gasped as he felt their minds connect more deeply than ever before. He could sense her emotions, her memories, her absolute trust in him. By the stars, he whispered, overwhelmed by the intimacy of the connection. Zara smiled, her eyes glowing with inner light. Now you carry part of my soul, and I carry part of yours. No matter what happens, we will never truly be apart. They made love under the alien moons, their bodies moving together with a harmony that transcended species and worlds. Each touch felt like coming home, each kiss like a promise of forever. Afterward, they lay entwined on the soft moss that grew on the deck. Zara's head on Marcus's chest as he stroked her midnight hair. Tomorrow we begin the mission that could save your people, Marcus said quietly. But tonight, the universe feels perfect. Zara lifted her head to look at him, her expression serious despite their intimacy. Marcus, I need you to promise me something. If I don't survive what's coming, you'll continue the fight. You'll protect the families we couldn't save. Marcus cupped her face, his thumb tracing her lips. We're going to survive this together, both of us. And when it's over, we're going to build a new world where children like the ones you saved can grow up free. Promise me, she insisted. Marcus kissed her forehead tenderly. I promise, but only if you promise the same. No matter what happens, we fight for each other. Always, Zara whispered. Sealing the vow with a kiss, that tasted of starlight and eternity. Above them, the moons completed their dance across the sky, blessing the union of two hearts that had found each other across the vast loneliness of space. Tomorrow would bring danger and impossible choices, but tonight they had love, and that was enough to light the darkness. The Crimson Archive stood like a monument to Zephyrian power, its crystalline spires reaching toward the purple sky while energy barriers hummed with lethal force. Marcus crouched behind a sand dune with Zara and the strike team, studying the fortress through his tactical scope. 17 guards at the perimeter, plus automated defenses, he reported. Riley's team should be in position at the eastern entrance. Zara's hand found his, their psychic bond allowing them to communicate without words. Through their connection, he felt her determination mixed with a deep current of fear, not for herself but for him. The quantum lock on the archive vault can only be opened by council members, she whispered. But if I can reach the central console, my genetic signature should still be in their system from before my exile. Marcus squeezed her hand, conveying love and confidence through their link. Right. Dante's diversion will give us 12 minutes maximum. We get in, download everything, and get out. The plan had seemed feasible back at the outpost, now staring at the fortress that held the evidence to expose the Council's genocide. Marcus wondered if they were about to commit elaborate suicide. Explosions bloomed on the archive's northern perimeter as Dante's team launched their diversionary attack. Immediately, guards began repositioning, exactly as predicted. Go, 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 Marcus whispered, and their small team sprinted across the open ground. They reached the ventilation system without detection. But as Zara began working her way through, the narrow passage's alarm suddenly shrieked across the compound. Through the chaos, a familiar voice boomed over the communication system. Marcus Steele, I know you're here. Colonel Blake's voice carried cold fury. Surrender now, and I'll make your execution quick. Marcus's blood turned to ice. His former commanding officer had anticipated their move, turning their mission into a trap. It's a setup. He hissed into his comm unit, but static answered him. They were being jammed. Zara dropped from the ventilation shaft into the archive chamber, her violet eyes wide with alarm. The massive room was filled with floating data crystals, each one containing decades of classified communications. But standing between them and the central console was High Matriarch Vexara herself, flanked by her personal guard. The little traitor returns, Vexara sneered, her voice echoing off the crystalline walls. She brings her pet human with her. Marcus raised his weapon, but the guards already had them covered from multiple angles. There was no way out. No. Cannot stop what has already begun, Vexara continued, approaching with predatory grace. The purification protocols activated an hour ago. Even now, the first camps are being cleansed. Zara's anguish hit Marcus like a physical blow through their bond. Somewhere across the planet, the families they'd fought to protect were dying. You're monsters, Marcus snarled, his finger tightening on the trigger. We are pragmatists, Vexara replied. The hybrid abominations threaten our genetic purity. They must be eliminated for the greater good. The greater good? Zara stepped forward, energy crackling around her hands as her emotions peaked. Those children never harmed anyone. They were innocent. Innocence is a luxury we cannot afford. Vexara activated a holodisplay, showing horrific images from the camp raids. See how efficiently your precious families are being processed. Marcus felt something snap inside Zara through their psychic link. Her grief and rage combined into something terrible and beautiful as power began building around her slight frame. Want to see processing? Zara's voice carried harmonics that made the crystal walls resonate. Let me show you processing. Lightning erupted from her hands, not the controlled energy she'd shown before, but raw elemental fury. The first guard simply disintegrated, its weapon clattering to the floor as Ashdot Marcus dove for cover as the chamber erupted into chaos. Zara moved like a force of nature, her attacks precise and devastating, while tears streamed down her face. Each strike was fueled by her love for the children she'd failed to save. But there were too many guards. Marcus watched in horror as a plasma bolt caught Zara in the shoulder. spinning her around. She stumbled, her power flickering. "No," Marcus roared, abandoning cover to reach her. A guard's shot caught him in the thigh, sending him sprawling. But he kept crawling toward Zara. Vexera stood over them both, weapon trained on Zara's head. How poetic. The human dies watching his alien horror suffer. Through their bond, Marcus felt Zara making a desperate choice. She looked at him with infinite love, then placed her hand on the central console. "I'm sorry," she whispered. And Marcus realized she was about to overload the entire archive, taking them all with it, but ensuring the evidence survived in the backup systems. Together, he gasped, covering her hand with his own despite his wounds. "We do this together." Their combined will flowed into the console, but instead of overload, something unexpected happened. The archive began transmitting not just to the backup systems, but to every communication device on the planet. "Hi, Matriarch." Vexara's own recorded words filled the air as years of secret communications played for all to hear, her voice admitting that hybrid children posed no genetic threat, that the purification was about maintaining political control. The Council had been manipulating both humans and Zephyrians for decades. Impossible, Vexera breathed, watching her political career disintegrate in real time. Outside, Marcus could hear the sounds of fighting as the fortress guards turned on each other, some remaining loyal to the Council, while others joined the spontaneous rebellion erupting across the planet. Riley's voice crackled through a damaged unit. "Marcus, the eastern perimeter is collapsing.
Us.
Every civilian in the capital is rising up," but Marcus barely heard her. Zara was growing pale in his arms, her injuries worse than they'd appeared. Through their bond, he felt her life force flickering. "Stay with me," he whispered, pressing his hands against her wounds. "We did it, love. We exposed them. The children are safe now." Zara smiled weakly, her hand touching his face. "Promise me you'll build that new world we talked about?" "Together?" Marcus insisted desperately. They build it together. But even as he spoke, he felt her consciousness beginning to drift away, leaving him alone with his grief and the sound of a revolution being born in the streets outside. 6 months after the fall of the Council, Marcus stood before the newly constructed memorial garden on the cliffs overlooking Kara City. Each crystal spire represented a life lost during the purification attempts: children, families, and brave rebels who had fought for freedom. At the garden's center grew a single tree from earth, its leaves green against the purple sky, a symbol of new growth from old soil. "She would have loved this place," Dante said quietly, joining Marcus at the memorial's edge. The former rebel leader now served as interim governor while the planet rebuilt its government. Marcus touched the small crystal pendant hanging around his neck, the only piece of the archive chamber that had survived the explosion. Sometimes, in quiet moments, he swore he could still feel Zara's presence through their bond. "The evacuation ships from the outer colonies arrive tomorrow," Dante continued. 300 hybrid families, finally coming home. "And the Galactic Council's response?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. "Recognition of Karis as an independent world? Reparations for the families affected by the purification attempts?" Dante's expression hardened. "Sarah and her inner circle will face trial for crimes against sentience." It should have felt like victory, but Marcus found it hollow without Zara to share it. He'd thrown himself into the reconstruction efforts, establishing schools for the returning, children and training centers for those who wanted to join the new planetary defense force. But every sunset reminded him of violet eyes that would never again watch the twin moons rise. "Marcus." Dante's voice carried an odd note of excitement. "There's something I need to show you." They walked together through the memorial garden toward a medical facility built into the cliff face. Marcus had helped design the building to house the most advanced healing technology available, hoping to prevent future tragedies. "Dr. Kalen has been working on something," Dante explained as they entered the sterile corridors. "Using recovered Zephyrian healing crystals and human medical techniques." Marcus felt a flutter of something that might have been hope, but he crushed it immediately. He'd learned the hard way that hope could be more painful than grief. They stopped outside a sealed treatment room, where Dr. Kellen, an elderly human scientist, monitored banks of complex equipment. Through the transparent wall, Marcus could see a healing pod filled with glowing blue fluid. The explosion did tremendous damage, Dr. Kellen explained without preamble. Brain trauma, cellular destruction, complete system failure. By any normal definition, she was dead. Marcus felt his knees go weak. But Zephyrian physiology is remarkable, the doctor continued. Their souls, for lack of a better term, can sometimes survive in crystalline matrices even after physical death. The archive crystals preserved her consciousness, and with the right combination of healing technology, the pod began to drain, and Marcus pressed against the window, his heart hammering against his ribs. A familiar form became visible through the receding fluid silver-blue skin. Midnight hair. The elegant features he'd memorized in dreams. Zara's eyes opened, and they were the same impossible violet that had haunted his every moment since the archive chamber. The recovery process will be gradual, Dr. Kellen warned as technicians began opening the pod. Memory integration, physical rehabilitation, possible psychological trauma from the transition experience. But Marcus wasn't listening. Anymore, he was running, bursting through the treatment room doors as Zara sat up slowly in the pod. Her gaze found his immediately. And through their bond, somehow still intact after all these months, he felt her joy and wonder. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice weak but unmistakably hers. "I dreamed of you. Every moment in the crystal darkness, I dreamed of you." He reached her in 3 steps, gathering her carefully into his arms. She felt solid and warm and perfectly real against his chest. I thought I'd lost you," he murmured into her hair. "I thought you were gone forever." Zara pulled back to look at him, her hands framing his face as tears streamed down both their cheeks. "Death couldn't break our bond. Nothing can break what we built together." Their kiss tasted of starlight and promises kept, of love that had literally conquered death itself. Round them, the medical staff worked quietly. But Marcus was aware only of the woman in his arms and the miracle of her return. "The children," Zara said urgently, when they finally separated. "The families we tried to save, safe," Marcus assured her. "All of them safe. The purification protocols were stopped, the camps were liberated, and tomorrow the exiles come home." Relief flooded through their connection as Zara sagged against him. "We did it. We actually did it." "You did it," Marcus corrected. "Your sacrifice, your courage, it changed everything." Zara shook her head, smiling through her tears. "We did it together, just like we promised." 1 year later, Marcus and Zara stood hand in hand before the great assembly of Karis, addressing representatives from dozens of worlds. The memorial garden had grown into a vast park where human and Zephyrian children played together beneath earth trees and native crystal formations. "Today marks the establishment of the Karis Accord," Marcus announced to the gathered delegates. "A treaty ensuring the protection of interspecies families throughout the galaxy." Zara stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly across the assembly. "Let our world be a beacon to prove that love transcends the boundaries of species, culture, and even death itself. Let our children, all our children, inherit a universe where diversity is celebrated, not feared." The ovation was thunderous, but Marcus heard only the steady beat of Zara's heart through their eternal bond. They had kept their promises to each other and to the innocent lives they'd fought to protect. That night, as they walked through the memorial garden under alien stars, Zara paused beside the earth tree that had grown tall and strong in Karis. "Soil, do you ever regret it?" she asked softly. "Gosh, giving up your old life, your career, your people?" Marcus pulled her closer, marveling as he always did at the perfect way she fit against his side. "I didn't give up anything. I found everything." He kissed her temple gently. "I found you." Above them, the twin moons of Karis completed their eternal dance, blessing a love that had reshaped 2 worlds and proven that some bonds are truly written in the stars themselves. The future stretched ahead, full of challenges and adventures. But they would face it together, human and a Zephyrian, whose love had become a force of revolution across the galaxy. In the distance, children's laughter echoed through the memorial garden, the sound of hope made manifest. And in that perfect moment, Marcus knew that every choice, every sacrifice, every moment of pain had been worth it to build this new world where love conquered all.